So I'll take my mask off here and step back. I'm Robert Pear, the founder of Harlem Lofts. We've been around for 20 years, focusing specifically on Upper Manhattan.
My name is Dr. Gareth John. I'm the research analyst at the firm.
Right. So when I said we focused on Upper Manhattan specifically, we made that decision 20 years ago because we wanted to be the authority in Harlem and Upper Manhattan, and we are. The reason we chose zip codes is because neighborhoods are a little more, I guess, ambiguous. Some people think they start and stop at different areas, where zip codes are definitive. For example, my backyard is 10027, and I have a fence. If you jump that fence, you're in 10026, where I used to live. So if you look at this chart here, on the east side, 10029 goes down to 96th Street. On the west side, we stop around 108, all the way up to Inwood. So, as we stated, we'll start off with condominiums. I'll let Dr. Gareth John take over there, and I'll fill in with townhouses.
Okay, thank you. So the first graph here shows the number of sales in 2020 versus 2019. 2020, quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4 are in red on the right of the graph. 2019 is in blue on the left. As you can see from the graph, number of sales in quarter 1 2020, that was 71 sales, was very similar to quarter 1 2019, where we saw 69 sales. However, due to the ongoing coronavirus situation, quarters 2 and 3, 2020 was significantly impacted. In those two combined, we saw just 75 sales, which was 52.7% lower than in quarter 2, 3, 2019, where we saw 155 sales. However, interestingly and encouragingly, in quarter 4, 2020, we saw a recovery. So back to 66 sales just in those 3 months, very similar to quarter 4, 2019, 69 sales. This suggests that the condo market is recovering following the kind of public health and economic crisis. Okay, so the good news as well, or more good news, is that despite the drop in sales in quarter 2, 3, 2020, the average price per sale did not change compared to 2019. So the average price in 2020, $883,399, was only 3.9% lower than in 2019. That is $919,521. This plus the quarter 4 recovery suggests that the underlying market is good and should return in 2021, and in fact has already begun to do so. So Rob, to summarise, in 2020, quarter 1, the Upper Manhattan condo market was stable and was very similar to 2019. The market was impacted by COVID-19 in quarter 2, 3, but recovered encouragingly in quarter 4, 2020. The stability of price per sale and the recovery suggest that the impact of the current situation is temporary and that the market will, and in fact is, recovering. This is a good example of how we analyse the market and how we use this information to optimise client objectives. So Rob, over to you.
Okay, for the townhouse market, my favorite. What do we have here? So, in blue is going to be 2019, and red is 2020. The first quarter started off great. We had 23 sales in the first quarter versus 25 in 2019, so we were only off by 2. Listing prices were much higher back then, though. And then in quarter 2, the townhouse market fell off dramatically. That's March 19th, everybody left town. So we went to 33 sales is that for the rest of the year? Is that
yes, it is.
Yeah, for the rest of the year. Only 33 sales, where the year prior, 2019, we had 63. Almost 50%, so 49%, yeah, 50%. The recovery here is not as advanced as the condo market, but you'll see in a later slide that the average price of these properties that did sell didn't change much. And here we are, next slide. All right, so the average price, you see it again in the blue and the red. In 2019, prices or asking prices were up about 15% because all of the brokers we met in the fall of last year, and we said this is going to be the best market we've seen since 17. Everyone raised their prices. We came out of the gates. Some sales took place. Same amount of sales as the year before for all practical purposes. And then the bottom fell out in March. But the properties that did sell, the 33 was it that sold?
Yes.
The prices that they traded at were the same as 2019. So basically they discounted them back down, most of them, and they started selling at the same price as they did a year before. So although the market looks like it fell off a cliff, it didn't. The amount of properties that sold definitely went down by half, but the average price held its own. Okay, this next chart, we're going to divide the properties by class, well, meaning one family versus three family and so forth. So you look at the numbers or the colors, one family is blue, all the way down to four family and plus is red. What you'll notice is the investment properties, which we consider 3, 4, or 5 families, the number of sales didn't change. So maybe by a little bit. We had 23 in 2019. Excuse me, 24 in 2019, and how many in 2020?
28. We had 28 in 2019, and we had 24 in 2020.
Gotcha. So four properties is not a big difference. But if you look at the one-family market, which is in your blue, you'll see that we had, 15 versus...
Between 1 and 2, residential, we had 16 sales in 2020 versus 37 in 2019.
Versus 37. So that you can see the investment properties, the reason we predicted this in the fall, that because of the laws that changed in July of 2019, we knew that the investment properties, the smaller investment properties, where people were shifting their money into that market. So we knew this was going to be a good year for that market. It probably would have been much higher if COVID didn't hit, but basically with COVID, it still held its own from 2019. And this has to do with people that used to invest in larger buildings. With the laws changing, they shifted over to these smaller buildings. But if you look at the real impact, you look at your 1 and 2 family homes, we had 37 sell in 2019, the green and the blue. And then in 2020, it went down to 16. And is that for both 1 and 2 family? Yeah.
Combined. Yeah.
So that's over 50%, right?
Yep, 50
yeah,
to
right
60,
at 50%.
56.8. Mm-hmm.
So the 1 and 2 family homes took the biggest hit, but we have news, they may be coming back. Okay, so this chart seems a little busy. It's basically by zip code and class. So the class and the colors are the same, but we divide this in maybe a little chart will come up on your screen to show you the Manhattan zip code chart. We go from south to north on this chart. 10029, if you remember, was the furthest south. And then if you go north all the way to 10034, you'll see not any activity in 2020. So basically what was affected, the most affected was, so Hamilton Heights and Washington Heights is 3-1 and 3-2. And you'll see in the middle there, at the top, fell off from 25 sales down to 12 in Hamilton Heights.
Yep.
8 to 1 sell in Hamilton Heights. Is this the whole year, or is this
This is the entire year.
The entire year, 1 sale in Hamilton Heights.
In Washington Heights.
Washington Heights.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's pretty extreme. So that they took the brunt of it.
Yep.
All right, to summarize the townhouse market, it was stable in first quarter of 2020, like we said. Severely affected by COVID from a inventory standpoint or a closing standpoint by 50%, not by price. The stability of price per square foot suggests to us that it suggested to us in the summer that the ones that were closing were the same price as last year, so that was a healthy market. It was just less transactions. And then the rental investment properties we talked about, this 23 versus 25, so that didn't go down, and that had to do with the laws changing. And then the residential and 1 and 2 family homes we talked about, that was the biggest hit. However, they did command the highest prices. So even though fewer properties sold from the 1 and 2 family sector, the prices were much higher than the investment prices, which is pretty typical. Okay, the final part of our seminar is going to be the effects of COVID. Gareth, would you mind talking about condominiums, and I'll do townhouses?
My pleasure.
Yeah? Right.
So this chart shows sales by week of condos. It's the sales volume, so that's the amount spent. By week from March 15th all the way through December 31st. We kind of monitored it throughout the pandemic. From March 15th to December 31st, 2020, we saw 147 sales versus 236 in 2019. That's a 37.7% reduction. Sales volume in this period was $130.4 million versus 215.8 in 2019. That's a 39.6% reduction. So the condo market was impacted severely in quarters 2 and 3, 2020. But as you can see, if you look at the right-hand side of the 2020 graph, that's the red side of the graph, you can see the recovery of sales in quarter 4, 2020. So in quarters 2 and 3, the market was impacted, recovered very well in quarter 4.
Can I add one thing? The little slope you see here at the end, that's the last few weeks. Those just haven't been recorded yet.
Right.
So in a month, it will go up, and it will be a continued incline.
Okay. Oh, and so next, this is also kind of an encouraging graph. So following a pandemic or recession, and this graph shows the number of condos that are listed from September 2019 to November 2020. Following a pandemic or recession, the first marker of recovery is an increase in inventory. Supply comes back. Condo listings recovered starting in about June, July, and in fact may have overshot. They actually reached 408 listings in October, which is the highest that we've ever seen. But as of November, the number of listings started to decline, and that suggests to us that condos are starting to close. Demand follows supply, and that's how the recovery normally goes.
Okay, so not looking at the whole year, now just looking through from March, from the COVID effects, we had 35 sales in the red in 2020 versus 68 in 2019. So what's that, 48.5%, as we talked about, 50% fewer sold. But if you look at the sales volume, from 77 to 145, it's pretty much at 50% as well, so that means the prices are the same. That's what that equates to.
Right.
So the average sale price of the properties that did sell, although 50% of them, it was 50% fewer, was the same price.
Right.
And that leads us to feel, or led us to feel at the time, that the market was still healthy. Some people were holding on to their properties, but the ones that did traded at 2019 prices. So we kept predicting that the townhouse market was stable. Less people were, ready to give up that extra 15% they added because the market was going up last December. Now they came down to 2019 prices and started closing. Okay, so this is your inventory chart. So here, if you look, we started again right at COVID. It says April because this is when in the inventory, normally in April goes up. That's significantly more than you'll see on these first 4 dots. But what happened with the effects of COVID, people started pulling them off the market. So normally April, it would keep going up all the way through June. It came down and dropped, and then in the summer, that was when they opened back up, right?
Exactly.
When real estate agents were actually able to go show properties again, the inventory started rising, and we kept saying that it was going to get up into the 90s soon, and that's a normal market. It took us a little while, but we got, we hit 91
mid-November.
Mid-November, so a little longer than normal. That should have been a September move, but in November we were up to 91. The big drop that you see there, you would say, you would probably glance at that and say, oh, that's bad news. That's actually good news. So what happened, 10 of those, correct me if I'm wrong, but 10 went into contract in December alone.
One sold, which was ours, and 9 went into contract, and 2 of those are ours too.
2 of ours.
Yeah.
So you don't know, if you only have 90, if an average market is only 90, and 10 sell in December, or go into contract in December, that's more than the last 5 years. If you look at the last 5-year history, December would maybe be 2 or 3. So this is a real sign of a recovery, or a real sign of everyone just sitting around and didn't have anything to do but buy townhouses. So I'm thinking A. All right, so now we're going to talk about the discounts that townhouse owners gave throughout the year, and it's a busy chart with a lot of numbers, so I'm going to pass it over to the doctor.
All right, thank you, Rob. This chart shows the percentage of townhouse properties offering discounts from May through to the end of 2020, And houses are broken down by their price point. From those less than 2 million are in pink, 2 to 3 are in green, 3 to 4 are in blue, and greater than 4 is in purple. From March, the story here is that from March 15th to December the 31st, 2020, listings have increasingly offered discounts to encourage sale. And it's actually income band dependent. The math is interesting. 70.6% of listings less than 2 million are currently offering discounts, compared with 40% of those priced at over 4. And as you can see, if you kind of look at the chart from left to right, you can see that the percentage of discounts being offered overall has been increasing through the end of 2020. So suggests that the market is correcting. Prices at the beginning of 2020 had been raised from 2019, and now they're coming back down to where they were before. The average discount is 9.92% of the price, so it's about 10%.
Right. We said earlier that in December, October through December of 19, the brokers were all advising their clients, raise your prices 10 to 15%, which we did. So this 9% decrease is normal. It's back to where they were in 2019. So we're still good.
Exactly. Okay, so finally to summarize the third and final part of this presentation, the impact of COVID-19. So condos, March 15th to December 31st, 2020, we saw 147 sales versus 236 in 2019. That's a 37.7% reduction. The market recovered towards the end of the year. And Rob?
But but the prices on the condos were down just a little.
Yep, the prices stayed the same. Yep.
And then on the condos, did the prices stay the same on condos?
They did, yeah.
All right. So on townhouses, you have 35 versus 68, so down 50% fewer properties, as we talked about, and you definitely saw that the prices were the same in 2020 as 2019, because again, they raised the prices on the listings, came down, started closing. December, most notably, is the busiest month.
Okay, so supply has recovered, houses are going into the contract, the condo market is recovering. And
same as townhouses.
Yep, and stability of price and price per square foot also suggest that the market is strong.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. So thank you for listening to our summary of our market report that we're working on right now. Gareth has how many slides?
36 charts.
36 charts and graphs. We're putting them together into our market report. We've been doing it for 12, 13 years. You'll get that in the mail. So stay in touch with us here. If you want to see our old market reports, go to the resource tab on our website. You can download, I think it goes back maybe 10 years. If you want to sign up for our events like this one, if you missed the one this morning, you missed a nice webinar that went over this detail. But our next one is going to be April 9th, which we'll talk about in a minute. If you're a buyer and you want to see our properties before they hit the market, just sign up under the Buyers tab. If you're a seller and you want a free valuation, obviously, with Dr. John here, we can get it done, and you get your results back quicker than a COVID test. So just fill out the evaluation form there, and we'll give you a call and come by. Social media, that's been a big, thanks to COVID, we really got into the social media over the summer, and YouTube is my favorite. So we'll be doing these YouTube updates. We were doing them every week during COVID. We went to every 2 weeks. Now we're doing monthly. What are we going to do?
Maybe 2 weeks, yeah.
So we're going to go back to every 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we'll see you for these quick updates. The market report, again, our next one will be April 9th. And as far as Facebook coming soon, you want to sign up there to see our new properties that are coming out. If you haven't signed up for this report, you need to go on and fill out the information on our website for this latest report. I think that's it. Thank you for attending, and you'll get the reports in the mail in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.